Hello and welcome to a tutorial on how to create a conversation tree, and this will be used for RPG games where one player can talk to another player, they can ask questions, the questions can branch into different replies. So let's jump right into it. Right now I have pre-set up a scene because there's certain things that I don't need to go through for this tutorial. Three of the things that I have in here are a demo player, a demo NPC, and a game manager. I use game managers a lot in RPG games because it allows me to very easily carry information about the character, information about how the game is going, all kinds of information. It allows me to carry it from one scene to another scene without losing my stuff, and it means I don't have to use player prefs. So the game manager very quickly is just set up this way. You can pause if you want to be able to copy this down, but this script will allow it not to be deleted going from scene to scene. The next one is the demo player, and there is a demo player script. The game manager will have the game manager script on it. The player is made up of a rigid body 2D, a box collider 2D, and the demo player script. This just allows me to be able to just move the player around the scene. The NPC will have a box collider and a circle collider 2D, and the circle collider is set up so that when the player enters the circle collider, it will trigger the start of the conversation, or it will trigger the accessibility of a conversation. So I want to first start by creating a folder structure for all the stuff we're going to have and not a script. It's my bad. Create folder Dialog System. Inside here, let's create another folder for our scripts, our sprites, and our prefabs. Now, I'm not going to be using many prefabs. This is going to be very heavily using scriptable objects. I want to create another folder in the assets folder, and this is called gizmos. And let's start creating some scripts. So the first one I want to create will be the actual dialog script. This is what is going to run the entire system. We want our NPC to have a script. That way it knows when the player has stepped up to it and what conversation to load. And now we have to create our scriptable objects. So we want our, let's start with the NPC scriptable object. That way the NPCs can be swapped out for different NPCs. We want our conversation tree. This is going to hold all of our conversations and questions. It's what will drive the whole, that NPC will be driven by that conversation. The conversation will include a dialog scriptable object, and this was supposed to be conversation tree scriptable object, delete. SO. And the last one I want to create is going to be a question scriptable object. Let me consult my notes, but yep, that is all we need. Okay, let's open them up and start setting them up as scriptable objects. So that's the game manager. I don't need the player anymore. Okay, dialog script, dialog scriptable object. Okay, so put all the scriptable objects down here. Okay, so a scriptable object does not inherit from mono behavior. And we want to be able to create it by using our asset menu. So create an asset menu. When we create it, it will create a file name, which will be called new, and in this case, it is a question. Next, we will have a menu name, what will be called in the menu. Let's call this tuto tutorial IAL, can't spell today, tutorial, and this is the question. A scriptable object also does not really need start or update, so I can delete those. And I want to copy this, and let's paste it into all of the scriptable objects. And let's make sure all of these inherit from scriptable object. And then we have to change these. So this is a dialog. This is a, let's just call it convo tree. And this will be the NPC. Once again, we get rid of our void and start, and let's save them all. Okay, as soon as this updates. Alright, so I should be able to go, let's create a demo folder, and inside of here, right click, create tutorial, and I can create a conversation tree. So an NPC, I can create a conversation tree that goes on the NPC. I can create a dialogue that goes into the conversation tree, and I can create a question that also goes onto the conversation tree. Now, for scriptable objects, they give you these default Unity icons, which when you have a lot of them, it kind of makes things kind of hard to tell what each of them are. That's where that gizmos folder comes in. I pre-built a couple of icons, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I'm going to drag into there. Now the thing is, we have to make sure that the names are the same. So this was the dialogue, and then following that, the word icon. This is the conversation tree, that should be correct. This one was just called question, without an S, oops, question, icon, and that was NPC So that should be fine. So if I go back now to my demo folder, oh, question. Why is my question different? Sprites. Question.so. That is why I forgot the SO. SO. So the demo folder, right. So now I can tell each one of these apart. Okay, let me just check my scripts. Okay, so at this point, I'm not going to go into my scripts too much right now. I want to actually start creating the interface, the user interface. So let's go and create a canvas. I'm going to call this Dialog System. Let's take spaces out. And on my canvas, I want to make sure I have correct scaling. I'm going to create my first item, which is a button. So this button is what, when the player enters into the range of the NPC, a button will pop up asking me if I want to take part in the conversation. So let's call this Dialog Opener. It will not need a text. And I'm going to drag in the sprites that I'm going to need for this. Okay, and on the dialog system, since we already have the dialog script, I'm going to put that on the dialog system, and the dialog opener is a button, which I can put dialog system on there, and we can come back to that later. So the dialog opener is going to take a sprite, and I don't know why. Oh, sorry, that's not a sprite. That's the sprite. There we go. And let's shrink that down. That's a good size. And I want this to be placed in the top left. And let's bring this down by 20. We can go more. 40. Back it up again. 30. Third time's a charm. Okay. So that's the opener that when I click on it, it will pull up the dialog system. The dialog system is going to contain a dialog box, which unfortunately I did not create it correctly. So I need to cut it up into pieces. Sprite. I just want to be able to slice it automatically just to contain the box itself. Apply. And now I can take that, and I'm going to create now an empty object in my canvas. And this is going to help me just position my dialog box to the bottom of the screen. So this will contain a button, and the button will be my sprite. And the dialog position actually I want that braced on the bottom of the screen. this guy. Let's bring him in. Right, I want him there. Now the reason why I create him as a button is because when we click on it, it will advance through the dialog. Okay, I just want enough text that I can get on the screen, and normally I find 25 works best. I want 3 lines. And that puts 3 lines nicely on the screen. White text. Want a shadow. 2. -2 and solid. That is looking nice. Also in the dialog position, I want another button. And this one is going to take up the entire area. Text. And as the name says, this allows me to exit the dialog. Once again, the dialog system will contain the code that will run. Okay. Dialog exit and box. I also want to create a simple image. And this is going to contain the name of the person who is currently speaking. Dialog name. And it will contain a text as well. So let us this is the name and this is the name box. So the name box, it's going to be that color. The name once again. And we can put the name on the name box. This is just a repeat of before. Sorry about that. Now, moving on, we've got our name text, we've got our area with the normal text, and we need to see who is talking. So I am going to, in the demo, drag in 2 characters, and in the description below you can find where I got them from. And first I will create an image. I will drop her on the image, and let's resize her to a good size, putting her behind the dialog box. And I'm going to name this Dialog Avatar Left. I'm going to paste it. Right, so I just copy pasted, and I will move this one to the right. And I will flip this using scale. That way we don't have to do any fancy stuff with code. Okay, so left and right, and that looks good. The dialog box, I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to rename this to question box. And this is going to store all the questions. I can hide the conversation, and the question box does not need a button because it does not advance. The text is now going to be question text, and let us resize that. Shrink it down a little bit more. Very good. Now we're going to need a button, UI button. This will be the answer, and let's rename everything. Answer text. 20. I'm not even going to design the buttons to be fancy. You can do that on your own. That should be good. So let us take the answer. I'm going to move it over. Size. That should be good. And this will also get from the dialog system. Answer text 1, 0. Okay. we have everything that we are going to need to be able to start our project. So I'm going to break off here, and when we come back, we will be starting our coding.